Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the bar for
Welcome.
episode 24. And I just want to say at the outset, we got to pick up the pace of these podcasts because
Yes.
one of my end of year prediction is that we are going to do 24 podcasts, which requires us to do two per month, and we are falling off the job here.
Well, I
Good
am.
job.
I am on board. I am on board. Let's go.
Everybody's got
We
too
might
many
have to find a
plans
new bar.
around here. The problem is everyone's got too many plans. You got to have your priorities.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. The podcast needs to move up the priority list
Up
in
the
terms of our
priority
plans. I think
list.
that would be a good idea.
Absolutely.
But it's a beautiful day here in the DMV
is.
area. We've
is.
had crappy weather all week, which was really unfortunate. I was in California last weekend for a fantastic wedding with my cousin got married. It was a beautiful wedding. Very festive. There was a lot of festive activities. I was a little tired when I got home, but all good. So happy to be back. So
You need a vacation from your break, huh?
I need a vacation from my partial vacation.
You're right. It's always that way.
Well, it's graduation season, so congratulations to my niece. We were in Dallas to celebrate her graduating high school.
Nice.
So
Nice.
she's preparing to go to Clark Atlanta in the fall. So everybody's excited about that.
Now, where is that? Where is that?
Clark Atlanta?
Clark, Atlanta.
In Atlanta.
Okay.
In
Well,
Atlanta. In Atlanta.
I got that.
I know.
I got that part.
It's a very popular HBCU.
Good.
So she's going
Nice.
there. So we're excited for her. And then off to Ohio tomorrow to help my wife's grandmother move. So it is just moving around.
Tomorrow.
Now, is this going to require a little physical labor on your
Just
part?
a little bit. We got movers. We got movers. Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
So
And Rachel, you are preparing for grandmother land.
I am. So yes. Yes, the window is getting closer and closer to delivery. My other daughter just moved into a new house that they're renting, and it's a beautiful house. So all's well. Motherhood front.
Outstanding. Well, I think this is the podcast where Rachel is supposed to provide a gripe, and since Rachel never has a gripe, I think the gripe for Kevin and I is that Rachel
Rachel
never has a gripe.
Happy person. You just gotta take it as it comes.
I don't know. I feel like you got to come up with something. Do you want a gripe because you had to jog in the rain today?
No. You know what? The good thing is I was still out there jogging, so yeah. It was kind of dramatic weather, I have to say. It was like pouring thunderstorms.
Oh my God.
And then it would be sunny for like half an hour, and then all of a sudden, like all the doom and gloom came back in. But
Now, are you running around trees, so when there are thunderstorms, it may not be a good idea for you to be out there running?
lots of trees in the neighborhood.
be careful.
Just counting down. God protected me. I wandered
Yes.
through the wilderness.
Yes, very good. All right. Well, since Rachel is gripeless again, so I guess the top of the news is the big beautiful bill.
I don't know if it's beautiful.
The
I don't
big
know if it's beautiful.
the
Like
big
Elon,
beautiful bill.
Elon said it can't be big and beautiful.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. Elon was
Elon don't like it.
Elon was not happy with the bill, of all people. So yeah, that was interesting.
Well, the president promised he was going to come in and make some changes, and he did. And I hope the people that voted for him are very excited about these changes that he offered.
Well,
I'm not
so
sure they
let's-
were
I
expecting
mean-
the Medicaid cuts and the increase in the deficit, but hey,
Well,
this is what they voted for.
I don't know who would be surprised about the increase in the deficit, because pretty much every single president, no matter what they promised, has increased the deficit. So that's old news. But
Well, I'm feeling a gripe emerging here. This whole idea of the Congressional Budget Office and their archaic way of scoring things. Look, yes, every president creates deficits, and You know, I mean, we could talk about how we got to this $34 trillion problem, which is a big problem. But, you know, what annoys me is that when they do the calculations for this, they never factor in, you know, the revenue that is created as a result of cutting taxes. Now, which I think is crazy, because if you look at the 2017 Trump tax cuts, that actually boosted economic output. It was a positive for the economy. And you still have the Democrats running around saying two things. One, oh my God, the Trump tax cuts increased the deficit. And oh, how terrible it all was because only rich people got tax cuts. Both of those things are demonstrably false.
Well,
I mean,
well,
so even if you use
others
the
got-
dynamic scoring, it still adds $2 trillion to the
debt.
So,
to the debt.
of course, it's going to add.
So the dynamic scoring being sort of the scoring
Yeah,
favored by.
but here I thought they were gonna-
conservatives that think that
So,
if you,
I
if
thought
you
when
cut
the-
taxes, you're going to generate more economic activity and therefore more revenues. But even
Well,
under dynamic
okay,
scoring,
so let me
you're-
ask you this.
you're
So,
adding a couple trillion.
so if it
to
were up to the
debt-
Democrats,
debt.
all of whom voted no on this,
Thank
and,
God.
and the Trump tax cuts were not extended, and every American were to get a massive tax increase, how do you think that would affect the deficit?
Yeah,
Well-
I mean, I'm just.
Well, look, I'm a dumb Democrat. I'm just going to say it. And let's be clear. We expected when the chainsaw came and all the waste, fraud, and abuse was found all around the federal government, and that we would reduce this deficit and get this money in order. It's just not happening. And this is crazy to watch all this chaos and zero results. Zero results. And we're going to increase the deficit, which again, I'll say there really is not one.
Oh, there's no
But
debt.
there's no debt.
Well,
It's
We'll
obvious
just
there's
print
no
more
debt.
money.
There's
So
no debt.
there's two different things that we're talking about. We're talking about the impact of the big beautiful bill, and then you're talking about the impact of the Doge.
But it
The
all goes
Doge-
hand
the
in
Doge-
hand, though. It
well,
all goes hand in hand.
Well, no, I mean, even the leader of the Doge effort is complaining about the big beautiful bill because of its impact on the deficit. So
He should also be claiming that he didn't reach his goal of cutting the money he said he was going to cut, too. Because that didn't happen
that didn't
at
yeah,
all.
because-
Not
right.
close.
That's
So
true. And
more
that- I mean,
partying
the
on
big-
stage for
well,
nothing.
So yeah, the big problem there was that Musk came in was way over his head in how the federal government is organized, how it works, and what you can do and what you can't do. Completely over his head as far as that went. So most of the things that he tried to do, he couldn't do. So I think he went from what was his initial
$2 trillion.
$2 trillion
To $1
so-
trillion.
and now I think it's
now-
100
I think they say-
176 billion.
billion.
I think it's
Yeah.
like $85.92.
180.
That's where we are.
176 billion.
176 billion. Okay. I
We
mean,
save lunch money for the government.
well,
Thank you,
Well,
Doge.
yeah.
I mean, we saved every American taxpayer
It used to
like
be like a
$2,000 or something.
But listen,
Okay, 176 billion. I mean, so what was that saying? Like a million here, a million there. Pretty soon you're talking about real money. We're like at 176 billion. Maybe that's real money. I mean, maybe we still think it's real money.
Well-
It's a lot of money. But
Well,
I mean, let's look at the things that are in this product. So obviously we have the extension of the 2017 tax cuts. Trump has gotten this no tax on tip thing in there. There's
which is false. It's
Well,
just false.
it-
It's just it does nothing.
it-
The people that work in the restaurants tell you when they collect cash, they don't pay taxes on that money. It's
But-
not going to change anything.
Okay, but how many people pay
well
their
because
tips
it's
in-
the honor system.
and
I mean, isn't it the honor
But
system?
it's not just that. It's how many people pay. When you pay a tip,
but-
when you pay a tip, do you pay it in cash
You're still-
or on your credit
It
card?
depends.
Okay, not pretty
If
much.
I ask the waitress,
99
I ask the waitresses, I say, would you rather get cash? If they say cash, I give them cash.
Really? So
Yeah.
okay.
What happens
so
if you don't carry cash?
99.
You should carry
You know
cash in
what?
America.
Kevin. We have been to many bars together, the three of us. I have never seen you ask someone, do you want your tip in cash? Because like
I've never-
99% of
Is
the
she
time.
saying this is fake news?
I have never seen you ask our buddy Eric if he wants cash.
I have not.
99% of the time, we pay our tips. Most of us pay our tips with our credit card. So it's not under the table. But so actually, I don't know, not taxing the tips. I don't have, the thing that I have a bigger problem with is not taxing overtime pay. I have a bigger problem with that.
I haven't-
That's
So,
I haven't-
also in the
so
bill.
overtime pay, there's a deduction in there for seniors. He originally wanted seniors to not pay taxes on Social Security benefits, but now apparently they turned it into some kind of a deduction because they realized that was massively expensive. So I guess my issue, just on the tax side of all this, I'm absolutely in favor of renewing the Trump tax cuts.
Which does benefit everybody.
It
because
benefits-
pretty much
it benefits everybody.
everyone
Not the same.
Well,
Not the same.
Well, again, just a sort of basic economics. If you make more money, you pay more taxes. So
yeah, but
as
the
a result,
percentage,
your tax
but
cut
the
will be
percentage
bigger.
is the problem.
Okay,
Elon paid like 0.4% taxes
Kevin,
on
Kevin,
$1 billion.
we have
or
been
something.
down this road before.
I'm just saying.
we're
Listen.
not, not going to go down this road.
Listen, I got a refund this year, so I'm gonna leave it alone. Thank
Oh,
you,
yeah, I got a
whoever
refund too.
whoever
Moving
whoever
on,
did that.
If we did not extend the tax cuts, everyone's taxes
Right,
would go
but
up.
so I'm fine with extending the tax cuts. I'm ambivalent about no tax on tips. I don't think we can't afford to not allow people to pay tax on overtime. It's too expensive.
That's why I have a bigger
you
problem
know,
with not paying taxes
so I-
overtime
so I
because
don't-
also it creates some weird incentives to work overtime,
Right.
Where you can kind of manipulate the system so
Right.
that you're actually spending more time working overtime, and
Yeah.
so,
So
it's some really weird incentives.
I think those are things we can't afford, and I kind of wish they
Yeah.
weren't in there.
Then there's also
one very important tax credit in there that I am very much in favor of. It is a new tax credit that will allow individuals and corporations to contribute to scholarship granting organizations around the country.
We like that.
We are
We
going
like
to bring
that.
school choice to all 50 states.
We
like that.
something we
I like
agree
that.
on. Something we agree on.
So we're all in favor of that. It's a tax credit. The donor actually doesn't make any money. You can give the money to the government, or you can give the money to a nonprofit scholarship granting organization to help a bunch of kids.
Yeah. So if you're listening and
Highly
you're paying
highly
attention,
recommend that.
check out www.servingourchildrendc.org.
There you go.
There you go.
That's right. Serving our children.
Here in the
could
DMV,
be-
we do school choice.
Serving our children could become a scholarship granting organization
Yeah,
for
that
the
sounds-
children of the
sounds
district.
good.
Well, there's another piece in there that I don't like, where they're trying to strip away the power of the federal judges to not have any pushback on federal employees, specifically the executive branch. So that is setting the stage for us to move into a dictatorship, of course, or autocracy, or a king.
What?
Because our president right now does not like it when the judges says he can't do something. So they snuck that little piece of.
Well, that is.
Okay, well, just
that is correct.
before we finish with the tax piece of
Yeah.
it, there was also the SALT provision, which
Oh, my
yes.
God.
actually,
yes.
Oh,
which
my God.
actually you had a lot of Democratic senators supporting because a lot of the blue states have very high state and local taxes.
Yes.
So the tax
Well,
bill
we bring
does-
in most of the money in this country. It's just the facts.
but, okay,
blue
but
states.
Who do you mean
okay,
by
The blue
we?
states.
But-
the blue states.
but the fact of the matter is that the people that
Are you
The
really
people-
trying to suggest that New York and California are well-run states?
the
We
people
bring in the most money, though.
let me
Listen,
just
the
let me-
Kentuckies are out there dragging us down,
Let me
baby.
just make sure that we describe what you're supporting here. The people that benefit from a higher cap on the state salt tax, which is state and local tax deduction, are the rich people.
Of course.
So-
they do.
Yes.
We're in
because-
favor of the rich people in this country. You didn't know?
Oh.
I just want to make sure that both Democrats,
the Democrats
and
are for,
Republicans
the Democrats
are
for
going to
rich
fight
people.
for the rich
Not-
people.
Not us.
Okay.
Not us.
The Democrats are for rich
It's
people.
the Democrats in the
Okay.
blue states.
Okay,
Democrats in the blue
all right.
states are all over the salt
The
tax.
truth comes out. Truth comes out.
Are all over increasing the salt tax.
All right.
deduction.
So you live in the district. You live in Virginia. I live in Virginia. I have friends. I have friends that live in Michigan, and yet another high tax state. And they've been moaning and groaning about the salt cap too.
As
and-
has Chuck Schumer,
right.
the majority
But-
leader in the Senate, Democratic
But
majority
Rachel
leader.
is absolutely right. The people who are benefiting this are the
only rich-
wealthy.
only rich
Now,
people, yeah.
here's the argument that all these New York, congressmen from New York are saying. Well, Yes, it will benefit a certain population, but we send more money to the federal government than
We
we
do
get back
indeed.
in services.
We do indeed.
That is strictly a function of population.
Okay.
Okay,
Whatever
right?
it is. Whatever it is.
Right? That's strictly a function of population.
But it's also a function of
It's a function of wealth and
the economics
wealth
of that state.
Yeah,
Those
yeah.
states deliver
Yes,
more.
well-
They have
wealth and
more,
wealth and
more wealth,
population.
more money, more
But
taxes.
Wealth and population.
why should small red states who are better managed have to subsidize
Let's carve 'em out.
New York and California?
Let's
Why,
give 'em-
why should they have to subsidize
Well-
New York and California
They don't.
You know, that's not
with the
that's,
state and local taxes?
No.
Yes.
No.
I just think that's a lame argument. I just
What?
think it's
That
like-
we're not subsidizing?
No, even to go back to the fact that it's because I don't think that the two are related. The fact that New York as a state might give more back than they get in benefits is a reason why the rich people should be able
Oh, so you're
to.
saying it's a phony argument? That
Yes.
the people who are
I don't
complaining
think
about
it's
it's a
two related
I
things.
actually agree with that.
Yeah, right. Because right, it's just a matter of like, should rich people pay more or should they get a bigger tax deduction? It's not related, and it just happens that in New York has a very high state and local taxes, and all these rich people are upset about it. But I don't think the two arguments should be related. It's not that argument is not a counterpoint to whether the salt tax deduction should be larger or smaller.
All right, so leaving aside the things that have been slipped into this monstrosity, and just focus on the thing that has probably garnered the greatest amount of attention, which is Medicaid, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So over the last several years, Medicaid has been dramatically expanded. And a lot of states expanded their Medicaid coverage to cover more people. There are states that didn't do that. Florida and Texas, for example, they did not do that.
They
right?
didn't.
So the argument from Republicans is okay, well, fine. We need to make sure that we put work requirements for able-bodied people back into Medicaid. I'm totally for this, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't
Right.
disagree with people having a work requirement. Bill Clinton tried to do that with SNAP. What, 15
Exactly.
years
With
ago.
exactly. Bill Clinton did it with welfare reform. Exactly. He did it.
Reluctantly, after
Well,
4 tries.
But it was enacted, and the work to welfare that was enacted, and 10 years out, most studies showed that would benefited the low income population because they went back to work. Ultimately,
Everybody agrees
so
with that. Nobody
generating-
argues that
But
point.
everybody is
should work.
that is the big part of the Medicaid piece in this bill. The big part of it. That's the big part that's so controversial. The big part of it is that there is a work requirement
Well,
for able-bodied.
Okay.
That's part of the language for able-bodied people.
but it always
who
becomes
can work.
But it always becomes objective in this country. Who's considered able-bodied and who should be on Medicaid?
Okay, but this
or who
is
should get the
okay,
benefit.
We were just saying
So
that
when you
they-
go down to
that
the
they-
office,
Bill
the person
Clinton-
that's gotta approve you has to believe that you're not able-bodied or you're able-bodied.
but we were just saying that when Bill Clinton, Democrat, got this implemented in welfare reform, ultimately it benefited the low income population.
That's right.
Okay.
And
well,
I also spent a couple of years working on this on Social Security disability benefits, where we were working on. Sort of the initiative was like, where can you save money? But it turns out that Social Security disability program had a huge disincentive for able-bodied people to go back to work because you would then lose your disability benefit. And so I was working in a bipartisan way to reform that so that able-bodied people had an incentive to go back to work, which is not how the system worked. It's like if you went back to work, you lost everything. And so we were working on a way to make sure that there was an incentive to go back to work where you didn't get cut off from your benefits. So if you went back, if you went back to work, you could get, you wouldn't completely lose your disability benefit, and you get in your income, so that you're at a higher level and you get an incentive.
the problem.
Many of my friends were like, you're terrible. You're cutting benefits to disabled people. But the fact of the matter is, the disability advocacy community
It's for it. They're for it. They're for it.
For it because they recognize that.
Here's the
that
problem.
They recognize.
Okay.
One more sentence, and then I'm going to listen to you. Because the disability community recognize that it's better for a poor individual to be able to work and feel better about themselves and feel like they have a future.
And it's good for the economy.
And it's good for the economy. And it reduces the deficit. Win, 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 win.
Okay. The problem here is, ladies and gentlemen, that people are not fair. So
But
you're penalizing the people for fraud that's minimal. So you want to disrupt you want to disrupt the whole program and then put people through a huge, I don't know what they're going to make them do to prove that they're able-bodied or not able-bodied.
But
We don't have enough employees. We just fired everybody. So now you're going to put in these program specifics because you're trying to find, 2-3% fraud or something because a few people are getting it.
It's not about fraud.
Or misuse
It's
or
not
whatever
about,
you're trying to do.
It's not about fraud.
fraud.
It's not about
But-
fraud. It's
well,
about.
that is what it's about
It's
because
about
they're saying
it's about
It's
structural
about-
what they're saying.
reform.
It's
People are
about
taking advantage of the system. They shouldn't be on it because that's fraud. If you're able-bodied, you're not supposed to be getting Medicaid and you're getting it. That's fraud.
Well,
Okay,
so
wait,
my point
okay.
is, we do this all the time,
And
we know
we
that
al-
there is not as much fraud as people
Okay.
say it is.
Okay, we already.
But if you want to
said-
incentivize people to go to work, give them trade, give them training,
that
give
is-
them
that
options,
is
give
part-
them mental health.
That is part of the. That is part of the Medicaid bill.
Take
That
the
is part of-
structure out that has kept them poor for the
Okay.
past 50 years
Part.
and
yeah,
allow them
yeah.
to grow and move on and be
You-
productive.
Okay,
You-
wait,
you
wait,
know-
wait,
you know-
wait, wait, wait,
Uh-oh.
wait.
It takes a
Part-
lot. It takes a lot
You know what,
to move
Kevin,
a
part
culture
of
of
the-
people.
Part of the part of the Medicaid provision is that you've got to put in at least 20 hours a week. If you're able-bodied, you got to put in at least 20 hours a week on work or other qualifying activities. A qualifying activity is getting training.
Okay. Okay, we'll see how it goes.
so I'm gonna.
We already agreed.
So-
I thought we already agreed that the Bill
I'm gonna.
Clinton.
I'm going to channel my inner Joe Biden. The Democrats took out the work requirements.
All right.
Anyway, all right. Well, enough of the big beautiful bill. It's in the Senate. We'll see what happens. All right.
right.
Well, we need a refill. We'll be back.
We'll be back.
All right. Welcome back to the bar. Our glasses are now full. Thank goodness.
We've moved on to wine.
Moved on to wine.
Moved on to wine.
We're mellowing out.
Was
for the
feeling a little parched there down the stretch of segment one, but all right. So a monumental thing happened in Washington this week.
It did.
Musk has left the building.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
He left with a black eye. With a black eye.
The black,
Or
now,
black eye.
So do you think so? So he says he got the black eye from one of his kids, his his child X. You think maybe one of his women, maybe
No.
took a swipe at him?
Who knows? There's 14 of them, so they usually,
No, there are
they u-
14.
there's usually
there are
animosity
there are
circling around.
14 kids.
Children.
There
are
are
not
14
women.
kids. There are
14
not
children.
14 women
Yeah.
that we know of. There are 14 kids. I think with his first wife, he had like 6. So 6 kids. One died. But anyways, there are not 14 women that we know about.
I'm sure there are 14 women.
Okay, but not.
Well,
I
maybe not
suspect
baby
there's
mom.
probably more
Not
than
baby
14
mamas,
women,
but-
They're not 14
But he's
moms.
only had
There are not 14
exactly
moms.
no 14 moms. But
Yeah.
so I mean, we've talked a little bit. Well, we've talked a lot about Musk. He was, before Musk entered the government. Rachel was a big fan of Musk, and I got to tell you, I should have thought of this gripe earlier, but I'm sure some of you have seen, Teslas around town with these stupid bumper stickers that say, "I bought this before Elon went crazy," which are all the people who have Trump derangement syndrome. It has nothing to do with Musk going crazy. It's the fact that he was working with Trump. At any rate,
Americans
at
like
any
to
rate.
support people that do work for the greater good,
Oh God!
and he does not.
Do you want a good car or do you not want a good car? You
Well-
buy a Tesla because it's the best electric vehicle on the road. It has
No,
nothing
no,
to do
no,
with
no.
Musk.
People buy
okay.
because they like the company, they like the company
Oh,
culture.
nonsense.
That is just what people do.
Okay, people were a huge fan of Tesla.
They were.
And so most people at that time felt that Musk was actually working for the general good because he produced a car that was environmentally superior.
He should have
So-
stayed his ass at Tesla.
Well, I
He's
think,
going
he,
back,
I,
he's
I
going
think
back.
he too realizes
No,
that.
I think he realizes
Yeah.
exactly.
But
I think what he learned is that he is way out of his league when it comes to how the federal government works, what the obstacles are, and how you make things happen in the federal government, which he was completely out of his league on.
Well, so I will say this, and admittedly, I'm probably repeating myself, but I will say this. At a macro level, I think what Musk and the Doge team was helpful and useful. And because nobody has done this. And, we've talked about all these presidents who come into office and they say, we're going to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse. We're going to eliminate waste, fraud. Nobody does it. So finally you have somebody that goes in there and admittedly breaks a lot of glass. And I do believe that he was straightforward about this. I mean, because he would come out and he would say, we are going to make mistakes. And what we're going to try to do is when we make mistakes, we're going to try to fix them. Now, was there overreach? Did they do some things the wrong way? Yes. But was this a useful exercise? Hell yes. The
Absolutely
government
not.
needed it.
Absolutely not. Let's be clear.
Very
They
good
came in
exercise.
with a plan, and the plan was to eliminate the oversight of his companies that were being investigated by the federal government.
No, that
And
was
the
never
other thing-
the plan.
the other thing that he
was
did-
not
is bullshit.
That was
The
not
other
the
thing that he
plan.
did
That was
was
not the
enrich
plan.
himself to
Oh
about the
my
tune of
God.
$38 billion in federal contracts.
Oh my
already-
God.
That is where he stands
already had the
today.
con-
He had the
That's where he
contracts.
stands today. And
He
my
had the
last
contracts.
point, nope, he got three new contracts,
No,
3 or 4
he-
new contracts
he
since
had
he's
the-
been Doge.
He had the contracts because
He-
he produced
Okay.
the most
Listen.
superior product.
Listen, when you come in,
Boeing, the
Listen.
next highest contractor on getting us to
I've
the
told you
space
Oh my God.
repeatedly that MSNBC
failed
is not a news
completely.
outlet.
ladies
you
and
got to
gentlemen,
stop watching
ladies and
MSNBC.
gentlemen, this comes straight from Fox News. I
Oh
read it
my
on their
God.
I read it on their website. He was completely ineffective in his efforts. They said this on the Fox News website. Completely ineffective.
Yeah.
There's no way to determine if what he's done and what he did made any sense at all. They also said that he came in with a plan, and his plan was to make sure that he secured more contracts. He wants the FAA contract now. They're probably going to give it to him because everybody loves Elon.
No, Elon
And
produces a
because
good
Elon
product.
is really
And-
smart.
He was doing better on federal
And let's be
contracts
clear,
before he was
The
head
America
of
I'm
Doge.
from, when you're in charge of the procurement, you don't get to be the person.
He's
that's-
not. He's never been in charge of procurement.
He's over there talking about waste, fraud, and abuse, and he's giving himself contracts.
No,
It's
he's
the
not.
same thing.
No,
It's
he's
the-
not.
I don't know
No,
what we're
he's
looking
not.
at. I know what we're
Okay.
watching.
Yeah.
All right,
But let
Elon
me just
Musk-
say this. Let me just say, if you get a federal government grant, you can't even buy people a slice of pizza. Now, this man is making billions and spending money, federal money, to his benefit. And he's in the
No,
room
he's not
helping them
spending-
making the
no.
decisions.
He,
So if that's not,
he was
if
doing
that's
much
okay with
better.
everybody,
He was doing much better in getting federal contracts before he was
That's
involved in the
that's
Trump
absolutely
campaign, and the reason was because he made the better product. There was no one else, like we said, the only other competitor in getting people to the space station was
His-
Boeing, who failed miserably. Was
are you all
off
saying that he
budget.
was not under federal investigation? He was
mean,
under federal
everybody-
investigation
everybody-
for
every-
Tesla.
what?
For Tesla, those cars are running people over on their own.
They-
In that autonomous state, they're not.
Kevin,
that was
affected.
not
Kevin,
that
that
was
is-
not
so
Musk.
that is a
That
real
was not
thing.
Musk's
So
plan.
I just came back from San Francisco. They've got all these Waymos in San,
you're right.
in San Francisco. These are Jaguars, by the way, which was I didn't know that, but they're Jaguars, and they're these Waymos, these self-driving vehicles, and they had an issue.
They still have an issue.
They had an issue with somebody got killed by a Waymo.
Yes.
So
Tesla had the same problem.
So my point.
They were under investigation.
So my point is that self-driving vehicles are going to run into some problems.
Self-driving.
It's
yes,
new
yes.
technology.
The
Yes,
point
I
is,
would
the
never
point
drive a
is,
self-driving vehicle.
he was under investigation, and all that has
and
gone away.
That was not his
It
plan.
has all gone
in
away.
That was not his plan in getting involved with the
Oh,
federal
that's the
government.
plan.
And it
by the
hasn't
way, he
been-
has
it
all your
hasn't-
data now. So good luck.
No, he doesn't.
Yes, he does.
He's got all my data.
does.
Yes, he
Well,
does.
you know who has all your
No.
data is TikTok.
TikTok.
They don't have my data. I'm not
TikTok
on
has
TikTok.
all your data. He does not. That was not.
Okay.
That was not his goal in
But
this
look,
effort.
but again, I just feel like the whole exercise was useful because somebody needed to do this.
well, the question is, was it useful? Because
was
I
not
mean,
useful.
So he was.
It's 176 billion in savings.
Right. Okay, and I agree with that. And that is. I think that's still real. I think that's 160 billion is still real
It's
money.
still real money.
Still money. I know $1 million is not real money anymore. $1 million here, $1 million there is not real money. But
And what I read today was half
but-
of what he said was already found by previous administrations.
No, that's not true. But,
Well,
are you saying-
nothing anybody else says against this
but
group is true.
you know,
That's
but
what I'm
okay,
understanding
but
now.
the thing is that
It's
everyone,
true. He's duplicating and he falsified the numbers.
No,
Oh my God.
No.
I'm just
and,
saying.
And you know what?
You have Musk derangement syndrome.
Okay, but every Democrat out there who got on TV to criticize him started out by saying, "Yes, their government is bloated. Yes, there's fraud, but there's a better way to do it." Do you think that anyone's going to try a better way to do it?
No,
that effort is
not
gone.
a
That
chance.
effort is gone. I agree that like his approach was not the best way. Not that there is another way to get it done because of all the rules and regulations, but it was crazy and it was overreach. But no, now that he's gone, no one else is going to do it.
Well, let me
it's
ask you
done.
this.
No
Let
one
me
else
ask-
is going to do it.
Let me ask you this, since you're
Do you
excited.
think there's a single candidate that's going to go out there and try and?
No, I don't know. I think if we have a king in the next 4 years, all this will look different. But
Or a queen. It could be a Queen AOC.
it won't be that.
I think
But
the effort
I
to
wanna
reduce
ask you this.
bloat is gone.
All this has happened. We got Trump now thinking that he wants to be the president again.
No, he doesn't.
He does. He does.
Have
We'll
you
see
not-
how
have
it
you
goes.
not
We'll see
figured
how
out
it
that
goes.
He just
We'll
says
see how-
shit.
Okay.
Say shit.
Well, you know what? You know what? This is what happened in Germany when everybody said,
Oh,
no, they're not doing it until they figured out they were doing it. And you can't just let everything he says in jest, he actually goes for.
Well,
And he means it. He
listen.
does not want to lose power, and he does not want to lose
Listen.
access to the treasury.
Listen.
That is his big move.
so
if
let
you don't, let me just ask you this question. In 4 years, if he is actually gone, where in the world do you think the United
three
States
and a
of
half.
America, what do you think the U.S. is going to look like?
It's really hard to say.
It's
It's
going to be
hard-
trash.
No, it's hard.
No,
It is
it's-
going to be
too early
trash.
to tell.
No, it's too early to tell.
It's too early
it's
to
too
tell.
early to
We're
tell.
going to be in
Listen.
deep shit because the
Listen.
deficit
No.
that I don't
Well,
really
so
believe
this
there is one.
This is going to be, as I have our executive
gonna be
producer taking
illuminating.
notes on this, but this is going to be a future podcast topic where we're going to talk about some of the overreaches in this administration and what may happen if you get a progressive Democrat that attempts to do the same thing. 180
Oh,
degrees different.
boy.
So that is
They
a
gonna
future podcast topic.
It'll be burning down the Capitol this time.
Yeah.
They'll burn it down this
Well,
time.
That's a future podcast topic. But anyway, all right. Moving on. So, what has, in addition to the big beautiful bill that has captured the attention of the nation, the P. Diddy trial has captured the attention of the nation, and our
A
friend
person
and our
worse
friend
than Trump
our-
or anybody else I can think of. P.
well,
Diddy.
our friend and podcast partner Kevin several months ago was defending this.
I didn't.
I don't even know what to call him.
I didn't defend him. I just said they don't have a case. He's gonna walk free.
Oh my God!
Oh
Have
my
you
God.
been listening to the
I have
people
been
testifying
listening to
against
everybody
him?
say
Yeah.
that he is a horrible person,
That-
which he has already said. I am a horrible,
Okay.
nasty person.
I think actually
I'm waiting to hear the
what
crime that he committed,
what you-
the RICO crime that he
I don't
committed.
know.
Okay, what you
committing
said-
violence, sexual assault,
what you
giving
said-
drugs to minors.
That's not the.
what you,
I'm waiting for
what
the
you were
drugs
upset
to
about a
minors
few
piece.
months
I'm
ago.
waiting for the drugs to minors piece, and I'm waiting for the kids that he raped. I'm waiting for the video to show where the kids, because they got all the video. Now, where are the kids in the video that got raped? All I hear is a bunch of grown people saying,
You only got to rape. Wait.
he slept with me and oiled me up, and then I didn't like it no more, and he was mean.
Oh my God, Kevin!
That's it.
I haven't said
my-
much this podcast.
All right.
Hello,
Yes.
audience
Out of the
out
mouths
there.
of
Save him! Save him!
But actually, I'm
him.
gonna side with him on this
Oh
one.
God!
Oh no!
Because
outrage.
a lot of, and I mean, we're obviously not in the jury or in the courtroom when this is going on, but all of the things that I've been hearing is just that he's a nasty guy and he was abusive to Cassie. I haven't heard anything about the RICO trial or underage people being involved.
I don't think the case is about underage people being involved.
It's
So-
a RICO
It's
about-
case about him doing
It's about-
trafficking, right?
Yeah, but that
Trafficking,
doesn't
correct.
necessarily involve underage.
Okay, it
I don't
involves
think
prostitution,
and-
drugs, and I thought guns at one time.
Do you have
Yeah.
any doubt that at these what do they call them? What were his parties called?
Freak-offs.
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 Do you have
Yes.
any? Do you have any doubt?
But-
I mean, it has been demonstrated that there were people underage at these parties. Now, were these people
But-
underage
Wait
at
a
the
minute.
parties?
No.
Okay, but when you're
Wait a
when you're
minute, you
trafficking
say-
women,
Not
they
involved
don't
at the
even
freak-off.
have to be when you're trafficking women. They
Not
don't-
involved in the freak-off.
Justin Bieber was at the freak-off.
He's not
when
even-
he was under 18.
He didn't test it. He's not testifying. He's
That's
not
not-
even in
that-
the. He's not even in the list.
That's not what I said.
Oh, okay.
Well, wait a minute. But you're saying so
sex
you
trafficking
can
does
say
you can sex traffic over adults.
You
Sex
cannot-
trafficking does
I
not
don't
require
disagree. I
underage.
agree with that.
Okay, I don't think underage is even the allegation here.
okay. I don't agree.
It's
My
sex
point
trafficking.
is, I have not seen evidence of the sex trafficking.
That's
The
correct.
prosecution has not said.
He is forcing women
To do things that they don't want to do.
things that
That's
they
not
don't
sex
want.
trafficking.
Enforcing-
Yes, it is.
Sex
enforcing-
trafficking
Yes, it
is
is.
going across
And-
state lines.
and
No.
forcing men
That's
to
He
do
has-
things
going across
they
state
don't
lines.
want
has-
You abusing
he
somebody
has-
is not sex trafficking.
He
That-
has taken
so-
these
Now,
women across
I think
state lines.
two things are right. The sex trafficking definition correct. However, what the defense is trying to prove is coercion, abuse.
The sex
through
trafficking is also-
coercion through abuse.
It's also support.
However, the gentleman, all of the people who have testified who were in the freak-offs, and this is just, I don't know, so audience, don't hold me accountable. You can't see me anyway. But everything that I've heard, all of the people said they had an option, like they would ask, and even in the text message between him and Cassie, it was a lot of information that was like, hey, are you comfortable with this? And she was like, right on, let's do it. Hook it up. Same as the gentleman, the gentleman who were
I'm
in
telling
there.
you. I'm telling you.
So
if they don't,
just-
if they don't get to the
There is a
crime
lot.
soon,
There's a lot
he's
of
gonna
evidence.
walk out
That,
that court.
there's a
Just-
lot of evidence that these women could not escape,
So
and
ju-
therefore they had to keep him happy because if he wasn't happy,
Yeah.
he threw him against the wall.
Here's
Just
my
because,
point,
just
Rachel.
because there's
And
one.
there
Rachel,
is evidence
ju-
that he
ju-
threw him against the wall. In
right.
fact, we all saw it on national TV.
that
But-
has already been determined. That's over with.
Okay.
That-
so
but that-
He
that's not
already
o-
said
it's
my
not over
bad,
with.
and he paid her $30
No,
million.
that's not over with because
That is
these
over
women
with.
were
Okay.
women were forced to engage in sex acts
So-
because if they didn't go along with what he wanted, he'd throw he.
Not-
they
There's
were
not
afraid-
another. There's not another woman who
There's
said
nobody
that.
said that.
There is-
who said that he abused them. There's
Yes,
not a-
what? There's two of them right now.
Well, Mia is on, but she's
Mia's
a
on.
worker, and they have discredited her saying that
Yeah.
apparently you love this man because you have all the
Text
social
messages
media,
saying
text
that,
messages saying
yeah.
you the
Yeah.
greatest person
So-
in the world.
You have to prove it. You have to prove it.
So here's my point.
Come on,
That was
come on.
her.
So
That was her
because
job.
there's a few,
and
just
no,
because there's a few
she was
text-
afraid for her life, and so was Cassie.
just because there's a few text messages where she apparently agreed to something at one point. This is over a long period of time where he
Yeah.
just abused these people.
Yeah.
This is a
And they were
classic
afraid-
example of a
And
guy
this-
who had
and this
so
guy
much
Mia-
money.
this
He had
guy
so
Mia-
much money, and the rules didn't apply to him. He had his little kingdom where he had all these people coming in doing all the
did.
things that got him off,
He did.
right?
Okay, listen, but
And
listen
now,
to. I hear
now
you.
the chicken's
Okay.
coming home to roost,
And
It's
this
brother.
not coming. It's not coming home because I'm telling you,
With
they
this woman
can't
Mia, when she
prove it.
left, his guards would go out and bring her back. She couldn't leave.
Rachel, hold on.
What?
The day that this
No.
woman stands up and somebody corroborates that, I will agree with you.
Yeah,
But
I was gonna say.
today,
Oh my God.
nobody
Now-
is
so-
saying
Oh my
that,
God.
and there's no corroboration. There's
Yes.
no proof.
Yeah.
The bodyguards are not saying, yeah.
We pulled him back in.
Diddy told me to go get her, so I went and brought her
How
back
much
in.
you
And we
think
dragged her back in the house.
Yeah.
Diddy paid those
Yeah.
bodyguards?
It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. The point is, they're in court.
It
And you have
does
to
And they're
prove
not
this.
proving
You have
the
to prove it.
case,
You
is
have to
all I'm
prove it.
saying.
Well, we don't know
Yeah,
that.
we don't know
So-
that.
Listen,
we don't know
if
that.
I was her big brother,
Okay.
I'd go choke the fool out myself.
Okay.
Right.
It's a courtroom.
Listen.
Just to make it clear, we're not defending Diddy.
We're not defending
But I do
Diddy.
think they have to
Well,
prove it.
Well,
You're
I'll let
confusing
the audience
defending-
determine it.
You're confusing defending Diddy with
Yeah.
my
You know,
depiction of what's
the,
happening and understanding that I
Agreed.
don't think
well,
they have
look, this,
proven their case.
I agree with that.
Well, first of all,
the guy
admittedly,
that
I have
the
not.
guy
I have not watched this 24 hours a day.
Me either.
Me either.
Really.
But
But I can tell you the stuff that I'm hearing.
It's bad.
It's
He's
disgusting.
A terrible, he's a
It's
terrible
bad.
person.
It's
That
bad.
this man should go to
He's
jail.
disgusting.
Same thing they said about
Oh.
Epstein,
He
right?
should
Same
go
thing they
to
said about
jail.
Epstein.
This guy
Same
is
stuff.
disgusting
P.
human
Diddy
being.
is so much worse. He's so
I say it all together.
It-
Epstein was just
but-
as bad. They say he really had kids, and who knows what these people do. Listen, you got a lot of money, you got nothing to do. That's what you do.
That is very true. I believe that. I agree with that. I definitely agree
Take your
with
clothes
that.
off.
Yeah. All right.
But
well,
he,
Put his
no,
baby
no,
roll
no,
on.
P. Diddy was, I mean, like, he was physically violent. I mean, the Mia's, like, I was afraid he was going to kill Cassie. He threw her against the bed, slammed her head into the bed, slammed her.
Cassie never said that. But
Yeah,
I
she
the man
digress.
is a
did.
freak.
Wait,
The man
Okay.
is
wait,
a
no,
freak.
We
he
saw
did
him.
We
say
know
that.
that.
She did say that.
We saw him. We saw him on
She did say
television.
that.
We saw him on. We all saw him on television beating up Cassie, kicking her in the gut, dragging her by
Yeah.
her hair. We all saw that on television.
Agreed.
It's not a part of the case.
It is so. It is part of the case.
Domestic
couldn't
violence
leave.
is not a part of the
Domestic
case.
violence is not a part of the
Couldn't-
case.
It is part of the case. She couldn't leave, and Mia couldn't leave. And the-
Mia
and-
could have left.
He kept these people
And matter of
prisoner.
fact,
I mean, come on.
the Cassie, the boy who was messing with Cassie while she was with dating Diddy,
Yep.
The
The
guy
trainer.
that they
The trainer.
hired.
said,
You mean the one where
The trainer.
he required this dude to have sex with her while he watched?
But-
Yeah.
Is
well,
that
there's a
what
lot of
you're
that. There's a
referring to?
lot of that.
Yeah.
But there's one guy she was actually dating,
Kid Cudi.
and Kid Cudi,
Kid Cudi. Mhm.
Yeah,
and he
and,
said on the stand she had an option to leave. And
He did.
and
She
She
did
may
not-
have had an option to leave
She had
at
an
one,
option to
at
leave.
one
And he
time.
said if she told me she was going wanted to leave, we would have left.
No, wait,
Yeah.
what they're trying to do.
So
And I
all
got-
I'm saying
I
to
got,
you,
I got
And
a
he
bridge
also-
to
he
sell
also
you in
said
the middle of
that-
nowhere.
but all I'm
He said
saying
that
to
P.
you,
Diddy-
listen,
P. Diddy came
listen.
to my house, broke into my house,
let
set
me
my
s-
car on fire, and was going to kill me.
Let me tell you why you always want 12 people on the jury. If
Reasonable doubt.
you ever get in trouble, don't ever go
Reasonable
with the
doubt.
judge. That's just one dude.
Yeah,
Go
reasonable
with the
doubt.
12 dummies in the box.
Agreed.
Well, no, that is it's
I'm
a
kidding.
jury of people's
I'm kidding.
peers.
And none of these people
in
are.
most cases. Anyway,
But
all right.
always be tried by
P.
12.
Diddy
Always.
is, P. Diddy is
A little
scum,
note
and
from
they better
Kevin
lock him.
Mills.
They better lock him up.
Perhaps. Oh, we're revealing ourselves. Perhaps we can agree that we all think P. Diddy is a freak, okay?
And terrible person. Terrible person.
He's terrible.
He is
He's
a
a terrible
horrible
guy.
human
Scum.
being.
He's terrible.
Terrible guy.
Awful. Anyway,
But
all right. Well,
he'll be back at the club in 6 months.
God help us. God help us. Well, we will see how this turns out. So, something else that was in the news recently is the former director of the FBI, who is apparently taking a stroll on the beach and just happened to randomly come across
You don't think it was random?
a rock
think he
formation
planted
that
it?
said 8647. Now, I personally find this very hard to believe that this rock formation just suddenly appeared in these numbers, all laid out like this. Just all of a sudden, and he just happened to be walking by and just took a photograph of it and then posted on it with the implication that. The implication that the Secret Service investigated that perhaps this was a threat against the president because
Oh,
of the
my gosh.
86 number.
Oh, come on.
But so seriously, do you guys believe or not believe? Well, first of all, do you believe or not believe that these rocks just suddenly appeared? And second, do you believe that he didn't know what it meant?
Well, okay. I don't think that he planted. I don't think he planted those rocks.
I don't think so
I think that someone else
They
put them
just
out there.
miraculously appeared.
Yeah, because look, that kind of stuff happens. There are plenty of people that are like saying all sorts of shit about Biden and venting their anger, and there are plenty of people venting their anger about Trump all over the place, and that kind of thing appears all over the place. And personally, I didn't think that 86 meant to kill somebody, and I think traditionally it's just meant to remove something, get rid of something. I never associated it with.
Rachel doesn't watch.
You are not
gangster
a former
movies.
director of the Federal Bureau of
Okay,
Investigation.
well, let me just point
Rachel-
out. Let me just
Rachel
point
has
out.
not. Rachel has not seen New Jack City. It's
But-
apparent.
Okay. Okay, let me just point out that a year ago in 2024, Matt Gaetz said that they had 86 Kevin McCarthy and Mitch McConnell. So I don't think he meant that they killed him.
I kind of think he did. at least in the figurative sense.
Okay, but getting rid of someone from a leadership position is completely different than killing somebody. So if someone is just out there saying, "Hey, let's get Trump out of power," which is what happened to Kevin McCarthy and Mitch McConnell,
Well, that's killing him.
it's getting
Politically.
it's okay, but
I get it.
okay,
I get it.
but
I get it.
but if you're just saying let's remove them from power, that's fine. Like everybody does that.
Well,
Everybody
I
does
think,
that.
I think James Comey had fun with it. He probably shouldn't have. He's past. I mean, I'm no fan of this guy. He got Hillary Clinton's election thrown.
I'm no fan of him
up.
either. But I don't think
But-
that he was necessarily thinking he was out there saying, "Hey,
Oh,
let's
he knew
assassin the
He
president."
knew exactly what he was saying. He knew exactly what it meant. He knew how it would go over. But
he was saying
but he should have done it.
Well, whether okay, I'm not a big fan of him. As he's a private person now, should still think of himself as a public person. But there are people all over the place saying, "Hey, let's get Trump out of power. Let's get Biden out of power. Let's get the Democrats out of
People
power."
want. Let's be clear. People
They don't
want Trump.
necessarily
A lot of people want
mean-
Trump dead.
People
I mean,
are
that's-
accusing.
and this is not a good climate.
People
to-
are accusing
So,
him.
so to
People are
your,
accusing
so
him
to
of
your
saying-
point, do you think it makes a lot of sense for the FBI director to be posting that photo?
I said he should have done
knowing
it.
that a
He
lot of
should-
people want Trump dead.
No,
What an
he shouldn't have
idiot.
done. He should have done it. It was a bad taste. He shouldn't have done it. But listen, we've given the pass to a lot of our Republican friends.
And our Democrat friends.
A lot of
Well,
passes. They say a lot of crazy stuff.
You know, it's just, you know.
We're in a
Hey,
terrible place
listen,
right now.
well,
the climate of the country is
the other topic that we didn't have time to get to today, but we will get to in the podcast is
In 2 weeks.
is the massive Biden health cover-up where his
Oh,
staff
Lord.
was running the country.
We don't need to talk about that
while
anymore.
Sleepy Joe,
We
and his
will not-
cognitive impairment.
We will not cover this.
We
in
are
the podcast.
absolutely going to cover this on a future podcast.
That was bad. That was bad.
All right.
Hey, listen.
So my question. So we're reaching near the end of our podcast, and so it's time for golf.
It's time for golf.
And I just have one question. I mean, since the Republicans passed a big beautiful bill, clearly this has got to be an eagle or a birdie for the Republicans.
Well, I think we're on hold.
That's not
It is one step in the process.
We're on
One
we're on
step.
hole number 4.
One step.
I think we're on hole number 4. We're going to call this a par 3. A par 3 on hole number. If you know what that means.
And the Republicans birdied this.
And the Democrats, I'm going to give them a bogey on this one. Yeah, and the reason I'm giving them a bogey is because they successfully got, I guess, 2 Republicans to vote against this bill and 1 to just vote present. They got it across, but the efforts of the Democrats shown here, a little effort. I'm going to give the Republicans a double bogey. Because, and quite simply because they barely got this thing across the finish line, and they have full control of both the House, the Senate, and they have the president. So for this to be their big move, and they can't even get everybody in line, I'm so proud of them.
Oh my God!
They got
Oh
a
my
double
God.
bogey.
Clearly,
They're losing poorly
is like-
in this game.
I don't know. I feel like the fix is in on golf.
Yeah.
It's just, you know.
The person with the scorecard is
This
making some.
This is like Bill Clinton going out and playing golf and said, you know, I shot an even par and there were 17 mulligans.
Listen, they should have been able to get this thing across without issue. And they're challenged on this one, and I don't think it's going to come out of the Senate.
Well, when you have a very small majority and you actually allow people to actually speak their mind, unlike when the iron-fisted Nancy Pelosi used to run
it's
the
true,
House
it's
and
true.
nobody was allowed to step out of line.
Well, we had-
Republicans got a lot of people that, listen.
we had
the-
2
the-
Republicans said this is not a good bill.
Well, they said it was not a good bill because some people are a little irrational about what can be done and what can't be done. You can't just go in there and suddenly, like we have one Republican senator who says, I will not vote for anything unless we can get spending back to pre-pandemic levels. I got to tell you, while I may be for that, it is absolutely impossible to do that.
If we get the
There's
president,
no possible way you can do that.
if we get the president not to spend $1 billion on golf trips, we probably could get things
Well, I
under
don't think he's
control.
spending a bill. And we're back. So the idea that you can go back to pre-pandemic spending levels, which was 6 years ago, I think just demonstrates some of the unreasonableness around this. I mean, I think we're all for, everybody realizes that we've got this $34 trillion debt. Well, perhaps not everybody realizes it's as big a problem as like more rational people realize. But nonetheless, you simply can't say, I'm not going to vote for this bill unless we go back to pre-pandemic levels of spending. It's unreasonable to do that.
First of all, you can't do that even if you don't make a single policy change. You can't have level funding because the population grows and inflation increases.
Right.
So
Right.
even if you do absolutely nothing, that you're spending more every year.
Yeah, and again, as we've talked about many times, you can't fix this problem unless you're willing to do structural things to entitlement programs. And when we're at the point now where we're paying more interest in the debt than we are on national defense, look, we need some courageous politicians, and
we have the baby boomers that are retiring, and so all of our Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid payments, which are the 75% of our budget, we have to spend more by law every single year if we do nothing.
Well, we just got to tax the rich people a little more.
oh my God.
They're coming up light on the bill.
We are not,
Anyway.
And then there's Fantasyland, where all we have to do is just confiscate 75% of the money for rich people. It will solve all of our problems. That is a fantasy.
We'll be in the black.
Because there's no debt.
There's no debt.
Black as
It's
black.
all a game.
Oh God.
It's not real.
Anyway,
All right, people.
I don't disagree with you guys on the fact that we can't keep level spending, but I think the challenge is our politicians do that during their campaigning to get votes, and then when the time they don't tell the truth about the debt and what they can and can't do. So America goes, oh, we're going to cut the deficit, we're going to this, we're going to that. They're not doing that.
Are you suggesting that politicians go out and you know and say things that
And
they
lie?
don't believe?
And lie.
Or say
Shocking.
things that are
And
untrue?
our
They make
wonderful-
promises that can't be kept? I'm
yeah,
shocked!
yes.
Shocked!
And we all agree.
As the phrase in Casablanca, I'm shocked to find that
Shocked.
gambling is going on in this
That's
institution.
right. One of the great movies of all time.
Yes.
Amen. All right. Salute.
Casablanca. Humphrey Bogart.
Humphrey Bogart.
We'll be back in 2 weeks.
Yes.
We hope.
Yes. Mark your calendar.
Mark your calendar. All right.